What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with just a few Destiny 2 news updates. And in this one, Bungie speak even more about upcoming rewards, extra details on how the Bento event will work, as well as future armor ornaments, weapon enhancement, plus they've applied some reward buffs for Revenant. Obviously those will only affect the last couple of weeks, but they additionally touch on scheduling for the next few weeks. We'll talk about the player housing discussion around Destiny, as well as a little bit of prep for episode heresies. So as always guys, if you enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us on the channel, but now let's get into it. And firstly, Bungie talk about their plans for upcoming reveals. They say the road to heresy continues and we have a lot to talk about. Next week, we'll be walking you through major updates to the Lighthouse and reward experiences in Trials of Osiris. Plus, we're rebuilding the way that ranking works in competitive Crucible, updating how we track and utilize skill in Crucible, reorganizing playlists, and they tease Iron Banner Quick Play right there as well. So that'll be interesting. Plus, they say there'll be more sandbox updates focused on weapons and armor. So that's what we're going to hear about in the days to come. So let us know any things you'd like to see on that front. And of course, in the tweet this week, Bungie outlined a whole bunch of ability tune-in, new aspects, and changes coming in episode Heresy, which is now only a couple of weeks away really. On top of that though, they confirmed that the Pastis Prologue, or Bento token event, will be dropping next week on Tuesday 21st. They previewed some of the rewards in the tweet, but Bungie added on social media, starting next week, each weapon available for Bento tokens will be enhanceable. On top of that, if you have any in your vault, they'll also gain this functionality, and that includes both Adept and base versions of the weapons where applicable. They do add though, weapons must have been acquired after Season of the Haunted to gain the enhancement functionality. And this of course is in reference to the Cataphract GL3 Adept, Igneous Hammer, and Horror's Least Adept, as well as the Riptide, which are the 4 legendary weapons that'll drop with fixed rolls as part of the Bento event. But it's good to know that they are going to be enhanceable as well, including existing versions that we may have as long as they were after Season of the Haunted. So that's a useful additional note. On top of that, the Destiny 2 team did confirm there'll be a maximum of 8 Bento tokens per account. So the quests that we'll be able to pick up will be account wide, and once we clear them on a character, they won't be available to purchase again on any character. They also revealed that there is a limit on how many spoils of conquest can be purchased. We'll basically be able to buy 3 stacks of spoils. So obviously that will limit how many raid related rewards could be purchased via this quest. And also when the TWAB came out, when we covered it, none of the weapons were listed as Adept. Then Bungie updated it so that all of the weapons were listed as Adept, including Riptide, which of course has never had an Adept variant. So they confirmed this won't be Adept, and they've updated the twit to reflect that. Plus they add at this time we have no plans of further enhancing legacy weapons, although if they're brought back for reissues, they'll be updated as such. So just a little bit of extra info related to the Bento event next week. I'm guessing it's going to start with a quest at the Drifter, and keep in mind if we complete 5 of the quests that are available out of a total of 8, I think, that'll be what we need in order to pick up Shadowwhite. And the final step to get Shadowwhite after we've done the 5 quests will be to visit the vending machine that's already got an icon over it in the Tower Annex. But if you want any more detail on all of the quest objectives, I'll link my Bento event video down below. For separate updates though, DMG said, Hunters, you've chosen a beautiful set for Festival of the Lost 2025, but we also heard you like a certain class item ornament, in reference to one of the older festival sets that they've got concepts for. It says there's no timeline on it, but we'll let you know when you can expect to get this class item at some point in the future. So the set on the right obviously will be brought into the game once again a little further down the road. Separately related to Revenant though, of course there is the Kel's Vengeance variant of Contest of Elders, where we can fight Skolas. That is now available, and there's a rare emblem that can drop on completions of that, which some folks have been farming for. Destiny 2 team shared though, we're impressed by your tenacity, and Skolas is beginning to fear your approach, so chances for the Revenant Redress legendary emblem have been greatly increased. We don't know the specific numbers for that buff right there, but if you wanted to get hold of that emblem, now is certainly going to be a good time to farm. And I guess people who've been playing the entirety of Revenant were sort of aware and waiting for Kel's Vengeance, but I imagine there's a lot of people that don't know it's even a thing, given that it's happening at the tail end of a season with a fairly low player population at this point. So if you haven't experienced that, keep in mind, it is now an option, and we've got better chances to pick up the emblem. Quick schedule update for the final weeks of Revenant, but D2 team said for those looking to complete the Rift Challenge, the mode will be returning during the final week of the season. So not next week, but the following reset on the 28th of January, Rift will become available in the Crucible, so keep that one in mind. Another quick mention related to Revenant, or more specifically prep for Heresy. Of course, nowadays, when we get new exotics from episodes, we essentially buy them from Raoul after doing a full rank up. So if you want to do some prep for that, keep in mind a full reset at Master Hour will take 6,000 points, and each type of decryption offers different amounts of points. So I think the fastest way to do it is via precision decryption. If you've got a full stack of exotic engrams, precision decryption costs 1 exotic engram, 2 ascendant shards, and 60,000 glimmer on the third tab of decryption options. So you technically need to do that 12 times. Of course, that would require 12 exotic engrams, but if you've got a full stack of 10 exotic engrams, that would only mean you'd need 2 or 3 more to drop early on in episode Heresy before you'd be able to actually pick up a new exotic armor piece. So it's worth doing some prep now. Of course, you don't have to spend all of those materials immediately. There isn't a rush, but if you want to do any prep, make sure you've got as many Ascendant Shards, Enhancement Prisms, Glimmer, and exotic engrams as possible, and, of course, exotic ciphers, as to decrypt a new exotic armor piece will also cost a cipher on top of an exotic engram. There's a bunch of ways we can get all of those materials, so I'll link a Reddit thread down below by Engineer7, who goes into a bit more specific detail. Some folks will say, why are you telling us to rush through the episode? That's definitely not what I'm doing. Some players like to prep, other players do not. There isn't really a right way to do it. You just gotta suit yourself, but there's nothing wrong with a quick mention for it nonetheless. A last thing to talk about here, but Destiny Bulletin shared an article that they posted, and apparently so many devs wanted a player housing feature at Bungie, former Bungie community manager reveals. And Liana Rupert posted on X with regards to a player housing type of system and said so many devs wanted this when I was there, it'd be dope, but there'd be a lot of things that need to change with the game and resource-wise internally to make it happen at a level that would mark it as a beneficial inclusion. Sort of indicating that higher-ups at Bungie weren't necessarily allocating resources for a system like this, but also potentially sort of technical difficulties in creating something like that. But of course, as we've seen in other titles, if done well, player housing systems can drive a lot of engagement. So obviously, there's been a degree of desire for that at Bungie, but hasn't happened just yet. It will be interesting to see what kind of features we're going to get for the Frontiers expansions. Most expansions for Destiny tend to bring new or previously unexisting systems into the game in one way or another. I'd assume and hope that we're going to see more of that with the upcoming expansions, but we'll simply have to wait and see. Of course, we're now in 2025. I do wonder when Bungie will speak more about Apollo, the summer expansion dropping this year, and what the timeline is going to look like for that, whether it will drop in June like the Final Shape did, or perhaps a little bit later on. I imagine it can't drop a whole bunch later than June, otherwise it would push that whole roadmap that Bungie showed us back. At this point though, perhaps we're going to be looking at getting details for Frontiers a month or two after Heresy is dropped. I just hope they don't leave it too long, as these are still meant to be the most significant pieces of content for the year. So we'll just have to wait and see. However, for today guys, that's what we have to speak about. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, a rating below really does help us on the channel. Additionally, get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with everything related to the game. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you guys very soon.